Good morning. It's 9:06, and today, after the 9:30 news, it's Polly's Place and an upcoming event and fundraiser for them. And first, the 5th annual Franz Jackson Jazz Celebration. In the spotlight this morning on WSJM, my guests today are the daughter of Franz Jackson, Michelle Jewell, and also on the telephone with us today, the featured performer for this year's event, Judi K. And good morning to both of you ladies.
Well, good morning, Brenda. Thanks for having us.
Glad to have you here today. So, Michelle, tell me about this event and what will be taking place at the 5th annual celebration.
As you mentioned, it's the 5th annual. This is a celebration primarily to celebrate my father's musical legacy in his life. He passed away in May of 2008. And we just want to keep his name and his music out there in the public eye, and also to bring in more of the younger generation and get them to really understand and appreciate the older
Type of
music.
jazz.
Yeah, the traditional jazz, which, you know, a lot of that is the roots of what they're listening to today. So
Now, you kind of keep this alive. You're the kind of the spokesperson, if you will, or the face of this event as Franz's daughter. But you have other people involved and volunteers, and a lot of people. This is important to a lot of people in the Dowagiac area and surrounding areas.
It really is. My father and my mother raised us in Dowagiac, so we have that connection to the southwestern Michigan area. I still live here. My dad was best known in Chicago and actually throughout the world, but best known in Chicago. But Dowagiac was where we did the 95th birthday celebration for him. The city really opened its arms for that. We had a lot of people come out for that. Great appreciation for him and his music. And so we wanted to sort of keep this annual thing in our community and where it's really appreciated. And we've been fortunate to have the continuing support from the Woodfire Italian Trattoria in Dowagiac, where this event will be held. They've done it for the past 4 years and always do an outstanding job of helping us support this event.
What's the date for this year's event?
It's Sunday, November 6th,
Okay.
6:30 p.m.
All right, so a week from this Sunday.
Yep, coming up.
It's not too far down the road. Can people get tickets in advance, or do you just come in that night?
We will be doing a cover that night, so there won't be any advance sales, but you
Okay.
do need to make a reservation if you're planning to be there. Seating is limited, and it usually fills up pretty quickly, and you can call the Woodfire directly to make those reservations at 782-0007.
How many can they seat, do you know?
I really don't know what the capacity
It's pretty big, but
and
still, only so many seats are there.
exactly.
Yeah. So this year's featured performer is Judi K. So tell us a little bit about her, and then we'll introduce her.
Judi is someone who worked with my dad off and on for a decade or more in the Chicago area. She's a fabulous vocalist, has a lot of experience in the traditional jazz swing realm. She's got a great repertoire and a real way of connecting with the audience that I think is going to make this one really special, in addition to her memories of my dad that she can share.
Do you always try to pick someone who did have a relationship or have knowledge of your father, or at least had played with him?
Absolutely. Every year I've tried to zero in on a group or a singular performer who had a connection, who he played with, who he knew, so that it not only are they bringing us great music, but they're also bringing the spirit of my dad and memories that they knew of him, recollections of stories and experiences. So it makes it personal while still giving the audience a really great time.
So what are your memories of your dad? Tell us about him from your perspective.
I have that duality of knowing him as a musician as well as a father.
Member, right.
Exactly. So, and they were very different personas. So, gosh, I have so many memories. I have fabulous memories that I wish I were older when they had happened, so that I could really appreciate the experience at the time. I remember sitting on stage with my dad when he played with Ella Fitzgerald in Chicago. I remember my mom taking us down to I think it was Daly Plaza in Chicago to hear Duke Ellington. Dizzy Gillespie, Roy Eldridge, a lot of these people were in my home, and I was little.
At the time, it didn't mean anything to you other
they were
than
just
mom
other,
and dad's friends.
Right, other musicians. I was just used to hearing the music, and now you look back on it and go, whoa, what was I a part of? So.
Yeah, and you see what a part of history, you really got to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Now, when we come back, we'll play a little bit of your dad's music, and then we'll talk to Judi K. She's on the phone with us this morning. Good morning, Judi.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back here on WSJM, AM 1400 and FM 94.9. It's 9:15 right now, and you're listening to the music of Franz Jackson. My guest today is Michelle Jewell, Franz Jackson's daughter, and here to talk about the 5th annual Franz Jackson Jazz Celebration coming up on November 6th. It's at the Woodfire Trattoria in Dowagiac. And how can people call to make their reservations again, Michelle?
You can call the Woodfire directly at 269-782-0007 to make a reservation.
You picked this song for us to play today. Tell me about this song, why you like this one, and what you think of about your dad when you hear it.
Pretty much all of my father's music just makes me happy, but this one in particular, it's a upbeat tune. It just makes you think about the fact that nothing is really as bad as you might think. Just keep thinking about the sunny side of the street, and everything's going to be okay. You'll get through it.
Now, the featured performer at this year's Franz Jackson celebration is Judi K, and she's with us on the phone. Judi, you mentioned during the break, this is really one of your favorite Franz Jackson songs, right?
It is, and I chose it actually to open the show on Sunday.
Really?
Simply because he has this wonderful line at the end that I'm not going to spill right now, but
okay.
it just reminds me so much of Franz. So that was really planned to do, at the very beginning of the evening.
So let's talk a little bit about your career first, and then we'll kind of talk about how you intersected with Franz during your music career.
Okay.
So how'd you get started? Go back.
Okay.
How
did I get started? It wasn't intentional. I was teaching folk guitar, and the great Jethro Burns happened to be a part of our annual show that we would do with our students, like a recital. Mm-hmm. And Jethro Burns, of course, is from the Homer and Jethro group and our team. And he decided that he heard me singing with the kids, and he asked if I wanted to work. And I said, well, I don't know any tunes, of that type. We were doing songs like I Love an Old Paint, that kind of little guitar song. And so he said, well, teach me tonight. And I said, yes, I do. It was just a fluke. So he had me come up and do that. And after I did a tune with him, he said, I think we can put you to work.
Yeah.
Well, so I did. I worked with him for a couple of years. And it was very, 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 very fundamental stuff. I didn't know jazz from anything. And then one day someone introduced me to Franz at Andy's, where he was playing at noon, and I just totally fell in love, totally. And, I couldn't even... And Franz invited me up, so I went up to sing a song. I muffed it up. I was so nervous, and the next couple of days, I got a note from him in the mail. He said, come and try it again. I'm at the Rib Exchange. So... It was just one thrill after another that I had no idea was coming. And I wound up working with him a lot. And my biggest thrill is that I worked with him, close to 7-8 years regularly. I'm saying, 6 and 7 nights a week.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It was amazing. It was just amazing. Nobody else... I don't think anybody could feel. It was just one of those things. It was a totally surprise to me, and a wonderful one. It just made for the greatest memories in the world.
So what does it mean to you to be able to come here to Southwest Michigan and be
thrilled.
Part of this?
I am thrilled. I'm just thrilled. I just love Franz so much, and I respect his music so much. And Michelle says, he is... She knows that he is so well loved in the Chicago area, and I must say it goes far beyond that as far as I'm concerned. I've seen that happen. He's like a rock star when you go to Europe. He's it's just my daughter when it was in London, and she was a Who fan, and over there she could see the Who anytime she wanted, and most of the time for nothing.
Yeah.
And so I'm comparing that to Franz being here, because here people saw him a lot for nothing, because we were in clubs and we were in, the public a lot. But going over to Europe, he was like, people waited in line for him. People would see him as a big star.
Yeah.
And I think he was. I think he was here, too. If you ask almost anybody that worked with him or saw him, they just exclaim how genius this man was when he played. And he was a mentor to anybody who was on stage with him. He could, he always was such a great example of how to behave, with the public, or how to behave with an audience, or what not to do on stage. And he felt free to tell me those things, and I couldn't tell you how much I appreciate that.
When we come back, we'll play some of your music, Judi, and then we'll find out a little bit about what you're planning to do for the tribute, the memorial concert on the 6th. All right?
Okay.
Okay, when we continue in the spotlight today on WSJM, AM 1400 and FM 94.9. Also, our Weather Channel forecast next. It's 9:25, and in the spotlight today, it's the 5th annual Franz Jackson Jazz Celebration. This music is Judi K.
The whole day through, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Yes, Georgia on my mind.
Judi, I'm blown away. Wow, that's you.
Well, thank you.
You're awesome. That is great. I looked at Michelle and I said, wow, you have a beautiful voice.
Well, I thank you very much. It's a fun thing to use, too. But
the concert, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering. I heard the music and I didn't know what was happening here.
Well,
but you just want me to chat about this thing. Yeah, Georgia is one of the tunes that is on my very first album, and that's the album that Franz is on, and of course I treasure it. And it's pretty thrilling to have people like him on a recording, because a recording lasts forever.
Yeah,
it's pretty wonderful. It really is.
When you're here for the concert on November 6th, you'll be featured in the 5th annual Franz Jackson Jazz Celebration at the Woodfire Trattoria in Dowagiac. Tell me about the songs you're choosing. Do they all have some kind of a memory or association of your time with Franz?
I'm sorry to interrupt. As soon as you said that, I just thought, well, this type of music, everything is associated with Franz. And we're having worked with him so much, almost did every tune with him. I don't know if I'm going to do any of his tunes, because I kind of stay away from those, except for Sunny Side of the Street.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple of others. But a few of them we would do together, like This Joint Is Jumpin'. And I'm going to bring that along, but I've got to wait and hear what the band can do first before I actually because that's a big band sound. That's a sound with a lot of noise and trumpets and brass and all kinds of nonsense. So I'm going to bring it along and see how it goes. And if the audience is, everything is right, then I think we'll throw it in there too. And I'll let them know what Franz used to do with that song.
So what's going on in your career right now? I mean, what are you doing just in general with your music career?
I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book, and I also perform with a little swing band up here in the Wisconsin area on weekends. And the music, of course, isn't the same as being in Chicago. I miss that. We were working all the time. Of course, those were different days, too. I mean, no one's working as much as that anymore. Mm-hmm. So, that was just lucky. I just got in on that era where bands were still being hired, and there was live music in a lot of places, and there still is, but I think they've cut back quite a bit with electronics and all that. So it was a lucky time. It was just pure grand luck to be in the era that Franz and these other people were working in. And I'm I can't say enough about how wonderful it was, and the things I learned from the man, and how gentle he was and wonderful. So I do have a few little stories that I'm going to tell in between some of the tunes, and most of it is going to be things that Franz and I did. So I'm hoping that it will evoke a lot of great feelings for wanting to continue this celebration every year.
Well, Michelle, you sounds like you made a great pick for the celebration this year. And Judi K just kind of transitioned into what I wanted to talk to you about. You're really thinking some pretty long-term growth over time for this particular event, which now is kind of a one-night event, but you'd like to see it expand.
Yeah, that was my hope from the start, was that we would develop this into a 1 day, then 2 day, maybe even 3 day festival, very similar to what we see at the Elkhart Jazz Festival now. And Judi brings up a good point about that live music has really suffered a lot since my dad was really doing his thing
in the
regularly.
heyday.
Yeah, exactly. And it hasn't been that long ago. I remember as a kid, those were our vacations. We went to Chicago and we listened, and we went every night and heard music, and that just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So I'd like to try to make that happen at least once or twice a year, so that the kids and the adults and everybody is sort of given an opportunity to see something different than what they hear on the radio these days.
Well, Judi K has just a beautiful, beautiful voice, and we just got to hear a little sample there. So why don't you call and make reservations to head out to the 5th annual Franz Jackson Jazz Celebration, November 6th at the Woodfire Trattoria in Dowagiac. And there's a cover charge, not a ticket, but just pay the cover when you come in. But you should call to make a reservation. There are limited seats, right, Michelle?
Yeah, seating is limited, and the cover is nominal. $15 for adults, $5 for kids. 5 through 12, kids under 5 are free.
Okay.
I also want to mention that we've got 3 local musicians backing Judi up, and their names that listeners should be familiar with. If they're not, they ought to be. Jim Pickley on piano, Daryl Teidebeck on bass, and the wonderful Billy Sticks-Nicks on drums. So.
All right. Well, thanks for coming today. We appreciate it, and let us know again when it's time next year, and I'll hope to watch this thing grow a little bit.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Judi, thanks for joining us on the telephone today.
Well, I thank you, Brenda. You're a wonderful, wonderful radio host.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, we hope you enjoy your time here in Southwest Michigan next week. And
I know I will.
To the concert. All right. Thanks for your time. We're going to let you go right now. And after the 9:30 break, we'll be talking about Polly's Place when we continue in the spotlight on WSJM, AM 1400 and FM 94.9, the news and talk of Michigan's great Southwest.